The views shared in this episode represent Kelli and Kendra, not our mamas, partners, church, job, or sponsors.
All right, y'all. We are, 5 days post the 2024 general election, and thought we would just do a download with our community. We've talked so much about this election over the first few months of the podcast, and we are at the crescendo. So, yeah, I've been seeing quite a few folks in true despair online. I've been seeing some good petty online, seeing a lot of confusion and just kind of like, I don't know what this means. I don't know if I'm sad. I don't know if I'm mad online. So yeah, I'm curious how y'all are feeling post-election.
Well, I can start by saying, while Megan and Leatra look at each other to decide who should speak first on their end. I will start by saying, just on a practical term, I have a headache from my braids.
What the hell is happening right now?
No, this is why this is important. I am very grateful to have a regular Black girl problem right now, because every Black girl has gotten their hair done, and 24 hours later, I've been like, oh man, I need to take a Tylenol or something because my head is hurting. I'm grateful for that pain today, right? Because the emotional distress that I was under earlier in this week, which I'm sure will ebb and flow, much like grief does, sometimes felt like too much to bear.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd mentioned to you before that I have been dealing with severe anxiety, a level of anxiety I haven't been experiencing in years, leading up to this election. And I don't think it's necessarily just the election, but the election has definitely been a trigger. And so it's been a difficult week for me because I was already wrestling with a lot of anxiety, and I'm still working through it. So this Black girl pain of braids is bringing me joy. And I know that sounds random. And if you're not a Black girl, you probably don't understand it. That's okay. But yeah, so I'm at this point now where I'm like, I'm sure the grief will ebb and flow, but I'm also the clarity that these 5 days has brought me and others in my circles of reminding us who we are to this country, who we are not to this country, what this country thinks of us. This country once again giving us their ass to kiss. Just brings me so much clarity about moving forward. It doesn't mean I anticipate ease moving forward at all.
Mm-hmm.
I do anticipate further pain, further grief, but the clarity of there's a certain calm coming over me now. Okay, I don't know exactly what I must do, but I know the first thing I must do is protect my own peace.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that's where I am. I'm in protect my peace mode because some people have tried me this week, and I'm protecting my peace.
Yeah. I was so grateful to work for myself this week. So grateful that 75-80% of my clients are Black women. I felt like, oh, I really have been building the work that I needed, but also that is needed. So just felt very affirmed in the clients who've chosen to work with me and how I'm able to hold space. I showed a lot of grace this week. Folks were like, actually, I can't do it today. And I was like, actually, I understand. So no problem. And just really trying to be very spacious with the Black women that I work with. And feeling like we have some dope Black women in leadership who have been overextending themselves to be Black excellence. And you can go back to our episode with the Exodus Summit to hear how we unpack that. And I hope that this is an invitation for them to stop. that we no longer have to, and we never did, but for some folks, this is your permission to no longer continue to do above and beyond everybody else on the team, because we are the Black women who are saving and fixing and cleaning up, but that we actually let people clean up their own mess, and that we're responsible for our mess, but we're not going to any longer be responsible for other people's mess. And I hope that this is permission for you. And, I'm just getting permission in the last couple of years, but I hope that this is an invitation for you to do some of those things differently for yourself and for your survival.
So Wednesday was a hard day for us personally. Like I don't know. So we woke up on Tuesday feeling hopeful, and like somehow, or I won't speak for Leatra, I'll speak for me, but I woke up feeling hopeful that somehow, some way, America was going to get it right this time. Call me naive, call me, whatever. I really thought there was absolutely no way that they were going to vote this man back in office. And so the whole day, I think like everybody, I had anxiety. I was like, I don't know how this is going to go, but I'm feeling hopeful. And then we went to your mom's house. We went to Leatra's mom's house. We started watching the returns come in. And I think my first inkling that this might not go the way that we are expecting it to go was when Florida came in, and they didn't even announce that it was like too close to call, or that they were going to count the votes. You know how like on coverage when they'll be like, oh, it's too close to call, we can't call it yet. But as soon as Florida came up, they announced that it was red. And we had been hearing people talking about different Democrats, different ways that they were organizing down in Florida, and how hopeful they were that they were going to make some inroads in Florida, and for it to just come in and immediately be red, I was like, oh, well, that's not great. And then more and more states started coming in, and I was like, I don't know if she has a chance to win this. And we're sitting in front of the TV, and Simone Sanders on MSNBC kind of laid it out plain. And that's, I think, when both of us were like, oh my God, he's about to win. And like, what do we do? I know I had no plan for what to do if that man won. And it was scary. It was terrifying. It was terrifying. And so the next day we woke up and we just started like planning, like, what do we do? Do we stay here? Do we leave? Do we go to Canada? Do we go to a different country? What do we do? And so that's kind of the space that we've been in for the last 3 days, just kind of trying to make a plan for what happens if it is an atrocity and as bad as I think everybody's expecting it to be. We just want to make sure that we are protected. I think like a lot of other Black women, we're at a point where we're not really thinking about anybody else but ourselves. And I think that Black women have earned that right. And so that's where I'm at with it. We're focused on us. We're focused on our families, on our little community, and that's it. That's it. So if this is the road that America wants to go down, then that's the road they're going to go down. And it's going to be terrible, but maybe that's what they deserve. So that's where I'm at.
So I agree. It was a very tough start the day on, what was it, Wednesday. Yeah, so we strategized, tried to figure out what's next, what made sense for us. But we also realized that, this concept that we were seeking of trying to find a safe haven may not actually exist. We may have to create it. Not may, we will have to create it. As queer Black women, where in this world can we go? I started thinking about, and I was grateful because we had just had the recording with Exodus Summit. And I feel like they had poured so much into us around not feeling tied to this country. Like there are no options outside of here, which this country will have you believe. I was so inspired by that. Meg didn't get a chance to be part of that recording, but I was so excited to tell her about it afterwards. And I was so excited for her to listen back to it. And I'm so excited for listeners to listen to it and hear, see and feel and hear what comes up for them. And, I started mentioning as we were talking to Meg, I know countries like Ghana, they have those
anti-LGBTQ laws.
Yeah, but they also have those programs to welcome back Black Americans to the country. And so we are in our full selves stuck in this space of, while that could be an option, it's not, because of anti-LGBTQ laws that exist worldwide. So we really are in this situation where we have to create, right? And so does that look like creating here? Does that look like creating abroad? We don't know yet. But once I kind of went through all of those emotions, those immediate emotions and bodily responses, I also the next day had a very busy day. I think we had a little bit of work to do with this Womanist Work. I had some other calls and some conversations for other contract and consultant stuff that we were engaged in. And it was all with Black women. And I was helping Black women be creative. I was helping Black women organize. I was helping Black women with their doctoral processes. All of this stuff that I was just like, we are in community, because we came to that realization of, we are focusing on ourselves. We are focusing on our community. We're focusing on our people and making sure our people are good. And I came to this other realization 2 days later that I have curated my life in a way that the community is already here. I've curated my social media in a way where I don't have to go filter through my list, because I've done that over the past several years, right? So the people who are there are the people who align, and the people who were grieving in the same ways that I was, and they weren't, causing additional stress for me. So it was just a really nice moment of realization and celebration that I have curated my life to sustain the feelings that I need. So that was really special. I don't know that would have come about had any other result from the election come to fruition. And it also made me realize, maybe this is just the time, because I thankfully had therapy that Wednesday as well. And, I was telling my therapist as we were talking about all this stuff, I was like, maybe I feel like there is a turning into something that is coming that feels really positive. It feels like it is going to be for me what I need. And so I'm just looking forward to what that is. While all of this may be happening, I can be confident that I've curated this space that will sustain me, and whatever I'm turning into, whatever life is going to, give next, I'm ready for it. That's how I feel now. And I'm grateful for that.
Yeah, I love it so much. And I remember during our Exodus Summit conversation, they mentioned that they had some content around countries that are safe for LGBTQ folks. So I encourage our listeners to search that on their YouTube. And it may be in the summit that they offer, but search their YouTube to see. And we can also put this in the show notes. But we want to make sure that every Black woman has the opportunity to be free. So as we find resources and communities that we think will be of value to you, we're going to definitely be lifting those up. Because one of the things I did see in this last week is how many Black women still feel alone. They feel like they don't have a friend group or sister circle. They don't have a faith community. And so this is not the time to be on your own. This is the time to be plugged into community. And so don't feel hopeless because you don't have that yet. We are here and others are here to make sure you find your folks so that you can figure out what your strategy is for your own survival.
We'll be back after a quick break.
Looking to take your podcast to the next level? Centering Equity Productions has your back. With our expert team, we specialize in crafting high-quality audio content that captivates your audience and boosts your brand. From concept development to marketing strategies, we handle it all so you can focus on what you love, creating amazing stories. Whether you're a seasoned podcaster or just starting out, we'll help you shine in the crowded podcasting landscape. Let's bring your vision to life and make some noise together. Contact us at info@centeringequityllc.com or www.centeringequityllc.com.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's so much that I want to say. I also received messages from folks who felt alone, including people in my own family, who reached out and said, Kendra, I feel like you're the person I can talk to about this. And a lot of it was because folks wanted to have the conversation without having someone say to them, well, God is still in control. Because in the moment, like, nobody really wanted to hear that.
Nor did they feel it.
Nor did they feel it. And I also wanted us to be able to have that apocalyptic moment where we can say, go ahead and think the worst, get it out, and then work our way back. This idea that we had to immediately go into like this, like joyful or this moment of like complete disbelief to anything. Like even now, I just saw a message today that somebody say, won't Project 2025 take at least 10 years to implement? Why are people freaking out? As if what we're experiencing is normal. Yeah. As if rule of law and the way our legislative branch and our executive branch and our judicial branch work is actually functional. And so, you know, we talk about it. I think we've talked about it before, but we've been talking about it in our other sister circles about just how prophetic Octavia Butler was in the parable of the sower. And one of my favorite kind of connection points to Octavia Butler's work is this idea of that God is change. And I feel like we're having that change moment where it's like people, you know, if you are afraid of change, if you are change resistant, then you will have an issue. But if so many of us have had to live through change, whether we wanted to or not. If we can just, I hate the word lean in because that's like, feels like white feminist 101. But if we could lean into change and the direction of where change is going to go and equip ourselves, embrace ourselves together in community, we are going to be all right. It doesn't mean we won't experience more loss and we won't experience more grief. But I do feel like embracing the change, like the United States of America, we've already seen the charade. We've already seen the curtain. We've gotten behind the curtain. We already know the jig is up. But because we know the jig is up, we also have to be prepared for what we see on the other side. And we can together. So I agree with you. I do think that we need each other. And we need to allow ourselves the ebb and flow of emotions and recognize we're not going to always feel great. We're going to feel low. And also recognize that eventually we will be able to pick up more allies along the way. Like we will be able to be in community with other people. But for now, we may just need us. And that's okay.
And we're always going to need us because allies are not us, meaning allies can only go so far, can only hold the work so far. And so you will always need your sister circle. You will always need a community because this is such a unique American experience that Black women in particular have, that we have to be with each other. Black men are having a completely different experience. We're not going to bash on Black men, but I'm gonna need y'all to get some act right in this period of time. Like I'm really gonna need Black men to do that work around the patriarchy and how it shows up, because if not, we are not going to be a community that is thriving because we ain't all on the same page. So you use the moment. I do want to say that, but our experience as Black women is so very unique in this country. And I think that there are people, even people of color, who get offended when you say things like Black women are everything or Black women have saved democracy, because they do not understand the experience that Black women are having, even when we are in the same spaces. And so this is also an invitation for our Latinx allies to begin to do some deeper work around anti-Blackness, right? The numbers spoke for themselves. Right, we have work to do, and as folks who have an oppressed experience in these United States, I want you to fully understand the experience of Black women in this country.
And I also, and I know Kelly's gonna love this because I'm conceding here. We as Black folks need to look to the South because the Project 2025 has been a project of the South for years. The research lab is down there where Kelly at in Texas, but like the research lab is in some of these states where our friends and sisters live. And so I think it's time for us to be in community with each other and say, okay, coastal elites and Northeasterners, y'all barely the few that did go blue, y'all barely was blue. It wasn't like y'all was resoundingly blue. So we need to be in conversation and community with folks who already know what this looks like.
Listen, let me say this. My petty was, I want you to look at this map and keep the South out your mouth, because a lot of you coastal people have been very arrogant about where you live and what you thought was happening in your community. That did not hold true, including the state of California, who did not vote to ban slavery. So,
period.
You could disparage the South if you want, but you are following us.
Yeah.
So you haven't led us to freedom. You haven't led us to anything different, because this country is what it is, no matter where you live. And so you too can use this moment of learning, dear coastal leaders.
And I just wanted to say, to that point, I feel like, I kind of presented a very positive, not positive, but a very like at peace perspective. That's wholly independent and wholly based on my experience. It is okay. It is perfectly valid for people to still be pissed off. It is perfectly valid for people to still be angry, enraged, afraid. All of those feelings are valid. I know there's plenty of people all across this country who are feeling a whole bunch of feelings, but I just want to underscore that point that y'all mentioned around community. Find your people who feel the same way and organize. If you haven't been part of organized movements before, now is the time. And it may not look like what you've been taught it should look like. It may be very different, right? Because that's a whole nother thing.
Yeah, I was actually going to just speak to that and say that, like, the first step is the community piece. Is that, like, what I found problematic about so-called organizing in recent years for me is people are organizing with people that they don't even want to break bread with. And there's something to be said for being able to pick up arms when we need to fight together in times of, like, times of conflict. But if we're not planting seeds of community in the times when we want, like the times like let's go get something to eat, like the basic stuff, how are you going to wrestle with people in those hard moments? And we saw that kind of, I think, with Black Lives Matter, is like the different factions that broke up, is that a lot of those people, they didn't meet until they got on that front line. And then there's times that happens, right? There are people who have been in the armed services in the United States who they became best buddies with somebody because they were on the front line with them. And there's something to be said for that, but they nurtured the relationships. They weren't always just on the battlefield, right? They also were in the mess hall, right? They also were in the barracks. And we got to have those mess hall and barrack moments, not just the front line moments with each other. And I think that's something that we can learn as we're moving forward, is like really build that community piece, because the organizing piece will come with as you build trust. And, I'm gonna always go back to emergent strategy. I feel like emergent strategy, like, is so necessary right now. That piece around, trust the people and they'll become trustworthy. We are in that emergent strategy moment. We need that.
Yeah. And we'll link to the book written by Adrienne Maree Brown, that is a really great guide for folks who are trying to reimagine what this new next phase of our history will be. So
absolutely. I want to add something to this. White people, if you're scared, just say that. Latin folks, Hispanic people, if you're scared, just say that. The straights, if you're scared, just say that. The Christian nationalists, if you're scared, just say that. The poors, if you're scared, just say that. Who else am I missing, y'all?
First of all, you stop looking down. We looking at your forehead.
If you scared, here, I'm looking in the camera. White people of the United States of America, if you are afraid of the browning of the United States of America, just say that. We didn't need to go through this ridiculous pomp and circumstance, and now you're on Google searching what the word tariff means. My God, today. Do better. And leave us out of it, because we done. Leave us out of it.